Save CNT. Vote PEP. Pleasant good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the #1 show in talk, plain talk, pep talks. I am here, Philip Edward Alexander, the sexiest man in politics. Joined this morning by an esteemed panel. We'll go in order of seniority. Selvan Mitchell, management consultant. Morning, Selvan.
Morning to the listening audience. Morning to the management of 91.9 FM, and morning to you. And our assistant here,
Kyle, Dr. Kyle.
Kyle.
Morning to Paul Daniel Nahus, security consultant, security expert. We always try to have a security expert on the show with us because security is our main issue this election. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, everyone.
We are, of course, waiting on Matheson. We are going in early, so is he not to blame this time? We're 15 minutes early. Today, we got a little extra time. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, IWER. Thanks, Kyle. Special good morning to the General of the Coalition of Interest Army, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel. Good morning to the boss. She really did a good job, Paul. You had to admit. When you look at the people that she is attracting to her, these are not people who are hungry for work.
Right now, the campaign has taken an interesting, I don't say turn, but in the last few months or so, people are beginning to realize that anything right now that is not for them is becoming default for the PNM. And she's be able to attract certain figures that you wouldn't have expected.
But that's what I'm saying.
I really wouldn't have expected.
These are not hungry mouth people, Selvan. These are not people that looking for a position. These are people that took some convincing to get them to come into politics. These are people that are self-made, well-established, captains in their industry that are coming on board. People, I think it's people that see a need for change.
A good example is the one you mentioned, St. Joseph. If you know his profile, he don't need this.
Not at all.
Yeah, Devish
Devish don't raise his profile for this.
But his mantra in how he lives is to serve people. You know,
Indeed.
in terms of his charity and so forth.
Indeed.
You know? And if you really get to know that person, I mean, it's without a doubt you're voting for
Well,
a person like that.
I don't even know, but Paul's wife is like Devish man of business. She's been his sidekick for 20 years.
Like a daughter to her.
Yeah.
Them, right? No, but in the firm.
Before she went into private practice for 14 years.
She was the go-to person.
And we used to joke that people will be in and out of that firm, in and out. She was a constant there. I didn't know how to take it when she was more worried about how he would take it when she left her own practice than her own self.
Wow.
But
than her own family. No, but I know, and I know them well. I know Candace and Paul for a long time from the Jericho Project and stuff. Paul practically grew up in my house. But I know that he, as you say, I mean, I know Devish long time, and as you say, Devish is a man that's hold his corner.
Yes.
He don't push up himself.
Yes.
Financially, morally, spiritually, he's
Ethically,
okay. Ethically, he's okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't need anything else.
He's solid.
Yeah, but he chose to step up and serve this time.
Yeah.
St. Joseph get a win there because he's a decent man. So if he take this responsibility, right? And okay, so then let's look at the next one. Put out a video dancing some skank. Wayne Sturge is the next man. I remember, and I hope Sturge will get back to me. He called me a couple of weeks before. He said, "Boy, Phil, you sure, boy? You think I really should be going into politics?" Because he helped in the Senate before. He didn't mind giving his advice on legal matters and stuff. But to come out and to fight.
Give public service, we call it. I give off self. Public service is giving off yourself.
Well, for these people that you're talking about, I think that is what it is. For Roger Alexander to leave the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to come to run. I don't think people understand.
He didn't need that. He didn't need to do that.
The man was on track. He was going to be commissioner one day. You know that. Roger Alexander, whole path was set.
Yeah.
He was going to be up for promotion to assistant commissioner soon. Before he took. I remember he took.
So he took a loss to his pension.
He did, and he took a loss to his pension, but he also took a voluntary retirement because during a certain gap, once you make a certain rank, you make first division. You have a 5-year period that is extended for you to be in the service past the age for SDOs, second division officers. But during that time, once you have done your pensionable years, you can take voluntary retirement, and you rarely ever find an officer taking voluntary retirement because you're giving up chance for additional promotion, additional pension. You're really
money, obsessed with money.
Yeah, and authority, all that. Your reputation, your record.
You reach the place in the career where you can start to reap the fruits of the reap the
of all your service,
of all the hard work. 30 years, you're a police officer, and he's probably one of the best known police officers in the history of this country. For him to take that decision, it could not be a light. That could not have been a light decision.
No, that's a decision that is not made waking up one morning. Well, I feel I want to serve on a parliamentary level. That is definitely not that.
Our next man, they bring out a retirement. I think he was retired.
San Fernando West.
Look at that now, man. Dowlat. Yep. Dowlat is a man. Again, he don't need this, Paul.
No, he doesn't need it.
And I think he gonna win San Fernando West on people, on students alone. But his students, you see, when you're a teacher and your students want to stand up and give you praise and acknowledgement, you know?
It's unfortunate Kevin couldn't get behind the campaign because he's a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. And I think he's going forward to serve, but I think if he doesn't get to serve, he'll be wasted. Saran is a very, very good person, very intelligent fellow. In terms of how this battle playing out down there, it's unfortunate everyone couldn't be on the same page because there are such good people in between.
I think Saran is a good guy. I just think he made some bad choices. I think that politically, and I don't know why, because he big.
Kevin, not just big, but
he have a brand.
He has a brand, and he is very intelligent, not just intelligent, but charismatic fellow. Yes. And he really came up. But I mean, people make political decisions, things.
They had to respect it as a democracy, but
correct.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, we had to wish the best for everybody, but we have to wish the best for the country.
And it comes down to that. What do we think will, as patriots, what will better our country? What decision will better our country in the end? That is the number one.
I watched Johnny Abraham jump out and say, you know what, I supporting this, I helping this. I watched Jack Warner. He said, I don't need no seat. I just come in and make sure we win. I watching people who don't need it.
And Jack Warner, I realize, has been seeing a lot of pictures on the ground. He hasn't been big it up on the areas, but he on the ground walking.
Yesterday I in a meeting, and we're going to talk about that meeting today when Matterson arrives. But yesterday I was in a meeting with some senior public servants, and I was rushing because Kurt Sinet called me to tell me Jack walking with him in C-Lots, come down and C-Lots with them, and I really wanted to go and do that walk because I want to walk in the communities and use my platform to highlight the communities. I went up at the top of St. Anne's, Paul. You see that staircase, boy? Jesus Christ. You imagine old people with creaky knees, boy.
But could they walk it? Old people with creaky knees?
What choice they have? You have no choice.
Until they're bedridden or I can't even say bedridden in Port Spain Hospital because they can't even get out of bed.
Get someone from
who it is told us that their job was to walk people up and down the hills.
They have people who do that, yeah.
I know, but I met somebody.
They do that. Their job will be to walk, try and help you person to come up and down to keep them from falling. And if an ambulance has to go,
I can't remember his name. This muscle man, and they say he get big. He used to be taking people up and down the stairs for the ambulance.
Correct. When the ambulance comes, they have to tote the person like luggage down those stairs.
We're taking a short break for some ads and we're coming back. Yeah.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
When UNC wins, your mental health wins as well. There has been a proliferation of noise pollution emanated from homes and fetes and bars and clubs intolerable to the persons living nearby. The UNC will amend the noise pollution laws to protect your mental health in these noisy residential neighborhoods and businesses. The system of granting bar license, party license will be changed by the UNC.
When UNC wins, everybody wins.
On April 28th, vote for the Tobago People's Party. Put your X next to the anchor.
Ayana Webster Roy, thank you for your service, but from here on, Shamfa Kojo Lewis, let me put it properly because we are respectful. Mrs. Shamfa Kojo Lewis, thank you for your service, but from here on, Joel, David, Joseph, Thomas,
TPP family, TPP family, people of Tobago East, people of Tobago West, people of Tobago.
Vote for the Tobago People's Party. Put your X next to the anchor.
Tobago, this is my land, the greatest little island.
Welcome to the Buku Seafood and Jazz Festival on April 19th, 2025. We invite you to an evening of smooth rhythms and soulful music as the sun dips behind Buku Bay. Let all your senses be tantalized. Enjoy an array of seafood dishes, browse crafts and designs created by local artisans, and lose yourself in the soulful melodies of John Sakata, Brian McKnight,
It's undeniable that we should be together.
Bonnet Bigford,
Oh, when the lightning crack the waters and the waves roll and break.
Mikal Teja,
Where else I go? Without you, my darling.
and the best of Tobago's talent. Get your physical tickets now. Tickets are also available online at islandetickets.com. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info or call 639-4441. The Buku Seafood and Jazz Festival, April 19th at Buku Integrated Facility. Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Meet me on the road for the TPP regional meetings. Make no mistake, TPP is the only choice. Tobago will be a blue wave. Mark your calendar. Tuesday, April 8, Plymouth Anglican School. Wednesday, April 9, Castara Beachfront. Thursday, April 10, Goodwood, Cambridge Junction. Saturday, April 12, Darrell Spring. Come hear your candidate. Vote for the anchor.
Tobago, this is my land, the greatest little island.
Come party.
Hey, what's up? This is your boy Major Hype, and guess what? It's all about Tobago.
Comedy Party, Friday, 18th April, Vibes Event Space, formerly known as the Shade Nightclub.
That's right, it all takes place in Tobago, Scarborough, Pigeon Point. Everybody come out.
Featuring Caribbean King of Comedy, Major Hype and Friends.
And let me have a good time.
Ziggy Ranking, and out of Jamaica, the greatest 420 artist ever, Guinea Pepper.
We lick the chalice, make the water go.
Friday, 18th April. Tickets on sale now. General $350. Get your tickets at Cache stores nationwide. Fairways Restaurant and the Lounge Plantation. Jenny's on the Boulevard. All E-Cliff Eli locations and online at islandetickets.com. Comedy show and party with all the top DJs, DJ Leela and Poppy.
It's all about comedy and party.
Friday, 18th April. Vibes Event Space, formerly known as the Shade Nightclub, sponsored by LB Tours, Cache, Top Ranking Guest House and Tours, and Jenny's on the Boulevard.
On April 28th, Tobago faces a defining moment in history, one that will shape our island's destiny for generations to come. Vote for the Tobago People's Party. Put your X next to the anchor. Tobago West, vote Joel Sampson.
I am Joel Nutsi Sampson, area representative of the beautiful electoral district of Bonaccord Crown Point. I have seen firsthand how many of Tobago's challenges go beyond the Assembly's reach. Issues like national security, budget allocations, and the fight for our fair share require strong representation at the national level. That's why I am willing to step forward to make the move from area representative of Bonaccord Crown Point to becoming your next member of parliament for Tobago West.
Vote for the Tobago People's Party. Put your X next to the anchor.
Tobago, this is my land, the greatest little island.
Ready, details of your plan.
Do you really think we have the time? Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah.
When she come for your vote, go up. Lying to you selling balls, hold up. Tante comes and the cabal break the treasury. How she leave the economy? Not what a leader's supposed to be. Tell them to go from here comes and the cabal. When they want your vote, tell come now.
Blah 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 blah.
On April 28th,
Raise the word.
vote PNM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live.
The Street 919 FM, the #1 election station.
This is a call to the nation. One by one, let's do it together. Let's be the change we want to see. Standing strong through any weather. Follow the light of the PEP. Cause we could build a better place for every queen in every race. Together we could triumph over anything we face. So one by one, two by two, the PEP we're here for you. Right here.
Save TNT, vote PEP. Back inside?
Back on.
Right, we are back inside. Good morning. This is the normal start of the show. We had a little head start today, some extra time. I'm here with Paul, Daniel, Naus, and Salvan Mitchell. Before the break, we were talking about the types of personalities that have made themselves available to serve with the coalition of interest in this election. And Salvan, people talking about that they're getting a feeling, 2 weeks to go, they're getting a feeling that's starting to feel like 1986.
I think the time should starting to believe policies now, to a large extent, and what we call realistic and measurable policies coming from the UNC in terms of what you're offering me is really what I need, and not what you're offering me is pie in the sky thing. I think that reality is setting in. I could relate to you. It's a conversation.
But of course, but you know what? Every time Stuart Young makes a promise, all people are asking is, if you know that is the solution, why you didn't do it in the last 10 years? How you making promises now on what the last government do when you were the last government?
You're analyzing too much. He's shooting from the hip.
Well, it worked before. It worked before. It's just that now it's not working.
I tell you 5% a year, 5% thing now. You can't shoot from the hip. There's no plan, there's no methodology, there's no real rubric in terms of how you end up there, you know.
Well, it works so.
It will sound good to them today. Let's see that.
It worked so well before. It worked so well before. So why not again?
Paul, PNM people having a hard time defending this PNM.
Some PNM people are not defending PNM. Well, they're just keeping quiet, right?
They're having a hard time defending this. All of the decisions. The decisions, everybody knows. You come to a point where, no matter how sycophantic I am to our party, you cross the line. Because to the PNM, they saw what was done to Amory Brown in Diego Martin West, and that was disgusting. They didn't have to do the man that. They didn't have to do him that. You're going to tell me that you're going to take a man as seasoned as Amory Brown. I mean, Amory Brown as a parliamentary contributor is second to none. Second to none.
I will give Jack his jacket. I said this when I heard he was not going up for Diego Martin West. And I don't support the PNM at all, but I was hoping that you'd let me put up a Diego Martin seat, because I made the statement that to deny Amory Brown being in Parliament will be to deny the PNM denying the country proper representation.
Understand? Look at who they put. I mean, they put Hans Devines. Hans Devines. I don't want to
in front of Amory Brown. Really?
You don't want to
say that is chalk and cheese, that's gravel and cheese, and I don't want to insult Hans. But this is not Hans' area. This is not where he play. You can't tell me that you're gonna tell Amory Brown that you get in the nod, so that Amory Brown will accept it publicly and then send Jackie Lazarus and crew to tell all the party groups, make sure Hans Devines is the one you're. So what you're saying, you use the party for personal vendetta. For personal vendetta.
That says nothing is wrong with new and decent blood. However, Emery Brown
is a statesman. He's a statesman. He's a statesman. Clean.
Look, we're not PNM supporters, and we sit down talking about how Emery Brown is a good representative, right? I mean, that's to tell you. That's to tell you.
But to the PNM supporters that watch, they did them dirty. They did Penelope Beckles dirty because you see, when they floated the idea in 2024 that they were going to put Stuart Young up for political leader, the backlash in the party was so swift and so strong that they knew that if they had gone ahead with an internal election, Penelope Beckles was walking away with it. Because Keith Rowley was already married to the concept that he was leaving. So this was his out. He was supposed to leave at the internal election. He's supposed to not put himself up. What they tried to do after was so messy and clunky, it violated the Constitution. It was a force fit. It was forcing to fit somebody in a position when the system and the party constitution and people who are accustomed to going down Shagaramas or going in the savannah, we are accustomed to the party convention and all the drama you gotta get with it. But Penelope was walking away. She's been patient. She deserves it. She would have united all the factions in that party. In fact, I'm glad it's not Penelope.
Yeah, I know. Had they put her, PNM walk away with the election, she would have united so much cross-section.
Well, yeah, I want to say it to you, it would have been close. It would be close. Because they still had a lot of mess, and we would have hung it on her.
But she
is
an appeal that the people wanted long time before Rowley.
She is the appeal people wanted. She is seen as clean hands.
However, I would say this internally. I was in the belly of the beast years ago, and I'll say this.
Yes, you was in Bali's also one election.
I was on the PNM before I was appointed official. I'll tell you something. I'm not 100% sure Penelope Beckles could have survived
the rigors
of being the leader of that party. Because I mean, I was in the party in opposition, and I watched what, if nothing else, as opposition, what Keith Rowley had to do inside to keep that party together. I'm not sure she had the belly. I just been real. I'm not sure she had that because to hold that together in a change of leadership is serious, you know.
Yeah, but you see, it's not a hold together. What Penelope Beckles would have been walking away with was back to the original PNM and all the party groups and the whole Black Caucus and everything that they make the people believe is the PNM. What's going on the top of the PNM is your family and mine. Controlling, you know that.
You know policies that, as they go along.
That has latched itself on to the PNM at the top and controlling the PNM through a parliamentary caucus, through people that be holding to them.
What you're saying is that they had the jewels and the people had the crown, but now the crown and the jewels on one head right now.
Well,
basically.
Well, right now nobody have it. Nobody have it because when I started to say Stuart Young, nobody don't like you. People thought I was joking. You have to judge somebody by the entire body of work, their life.
Yeah.
Judge me by my life. When I look around at the people that follow me closest, the people who support me the loudest, are people that have known me since I was a boy. You need that, and you understand. But not only that,
so you need that.
You need that check. You need that check. You need to know that I have been a good person. I am not looking at. You know, you can hire these people and they come and they tell you, use your finger to point, smile, clasp your hands this way. All that drama. There are people who does their work. They train you how to be a politician, how to smile, when to smile, how to talk, when to talk. But if the people that have known you your whole life coming out and say that you are not a good person, and that is what's happening to Stuart Young. He have no friends that are willing to stand up and defend his character. There's nobody. So when I tell him nobody don't like you, Stuart, I was being honest because I know him long time. He is one of those people that in a crowd stands alone. He sees himself as above everybody else. He doesn't understand the language of struggle. He doesn't.
Well, and you know what, something? That is a issue with that a PNM leader. I'll tell you something. As a leader of PNM, which was a grassroots party, I don't know what it's becoming now. It was a grassroots party, and the leaders had to know what it's like coming from the grassroots. And if you get a disconnect, maybe that's why you see the rallies have nobody to speak of.
When Stuart Young is walking in Belmont, he has to walk with 100 Belmont people so that he could kind of get lost in the crowd. Because Stuart Young doesn't fit in Belmont, and it's not race. Because they have white people
They have
and Chinese people
plenty Chinese in Belmont.
So it's not race. But he is so uncomfortable in that space. Because if you want to see real poverty, there are parts of Belmont that will show you what getting left behind by the PNM looks like.
There are parts in most of the country, and those parts are always PNM seats.
They have a family that lives in a house right next to where the whole neighborhood comes and put their garbage. And you know what garbage in 2 days, hot sun, what it smells like. And I think to myself, how is that? Oh God, buy out the people house and give them a house somewhere in there. You have them literally living in
garbage.
You know, how do you not care enough about people?
Some people, if it does not affect them, they don't care.
So when you have people walking in your community, you know, what people don't understand about Marie Antoinette in the French Revolution, why they cut off her head. Marie Antoinette was a child of privilege. In her world, in her home of maids and butlers,
and nannies, etc., etc.
in her world, they didn't dress themselves, you know. They had a lady's maid, and a lady's maid job is to literally put your clothes on you. So in her world, and it's no fault of hers, this is her world, what she grew up in.
Yeah.
If bread run out, they have cake. She didn't understand that to the masses, bread was the last line before poverty. So when the people came to say, the people have no bread, and she said, well, let them eat cake. It was such an insult to them.
It's the attitude.
Just tell me something. I'm glad you say that. Do we still have the baby grant?
No.
No,
they cut it early.
Stop. It tells you something about a government who will remove something like baby grant. You know the genesis of baby grant? And that come to mind when you say that, you know.
I heard that story. You can tell it if you want, but I heard it.
When this lady stole baby milk in a supermarket or something like that, and the Prime Minister then, Prasad Bisasa, heard about it and called to speak to the woman, why are you stealing baby milk? What is good about that? Within 24 hours, we had a policy of baby grant. Because there are certain catchment in this society that really cannot afford it, you know. And the question is, who is taking care of that catchment in the society?
What about the children's fund?
Yeah, the children's life
fund. But I'm coming back to ask them, we don't have that again?
I don't think that exists.
So who's taking care of it?
Or if it exists, because I am seeing constantly people begging, they have children.
Let me say something. A fundamental measure of a government care and empathy for countries, how it's take care of what? The elderly?
Those, the least of them. That was Gandhi. Is Mohandas Gandhi, Mahatma
So you measure how you take care of those poor people, the weak,
people who do
the challenged, the elderly.
People who do nothing for you.
And if you as a government not addressing those things, you shouldn't be in government.
We had a mayor of Port of Spain went and when you remember the homeless people, what he say? They can't be here. Well, where they gonna go? Let them find a home.
When they came out,
empathy.
Listen, we were feeding the homeless. Paul was part of that. We were feeding the homeless.
And Devish is still part of that.
And Devish just did every night. I mean, God. But they passed a law saying that we would get arrested for feeding the homeless. And that day, my father changed his clothes and he said, "Come in with you. Let's go and feed the homeless." That for the first time, we parked our vehicle in front of the mayor's office to feed the homeless because my father wanted to make a point.
Yes. Wow.
He wanted to make the point. You don't have to come looking for us. We're right here. We're feeding the homeless on your doorstep.
I got a call from the mayor at the time. You were down there. I was down by, what's the square we used to feed them?
Columbus.
Columbus, yes. Columbus. Sorry, forgettable name as well. I was there and I got a call from the mayor at the time. What are you doing? And he started telling me, hey, listen. I said, well, come and lock me up. I said, come and lock me up. I'm feeling them right now. Come and lock them up.
Yeah. It's a measure. And it's a fundamental thing I'm saying, you know. How a government take care of the vulnerable in society, determine if they should be in office, yes or no, you know. And forget everything else. Forget all the talk and the talk.
If you're treating with the poor, the society will fix itself. If you're treating with the communities, if you give the families the ability to reconstruct itself, you could get out their way. You don't have to mind them.
I want to point out this. Something that happened, well, you know, Devish has been doing, I've been part of it with my wife and so on, and Devish has been doing this feeding of the homeless every single night. For it's 8 years now this year, every single night, Sunday to Sunday, a big meal every night. And the former mayor, the one before this one, said that there was a little talk back and forth. He said, oh look, the styrofoam, they're leaving the box on the ground, so we're creating litter in Port of Spain. And I asked him the question, I said, when last you see a garbage bin overturned in Port of Spain looking for food?
Because
you remember that? You remember 10 years ago, garbage all over the street.
Point.
I asked him that, he couldn't answer me.
Yeah.
So the styrofoam box replaced garbage, spewed across the street.
Someone, the kind of poverty that you find in downtown Port of Spain is unreal, you know. One Christmas morning,
we used to spend Christmas, yes, we used to spend our Christmas day was, we used to leave our family, Christmas day, we used to go.
I did some in Riverside Plaza, my daughters and I, Riverside Plaza day, and I understand it.
That's where we used to go before they banned it, but they grew up doing that.
They banned it, get locked up, just now.
They moved them.
So we could get locked up for feeding people?
Kaifa, they grew up doing this Christmas morning, to them, was, let me go and feed the homeless. And I remember this one Christmas, right outside the cathedral, they had this guy sitting in his feces, rubbing it all over himself. So he is completely covered, flies buzzing, his lunchtime sun. So the stench hit you like a cuff in your face, and he is all in his hair. He's obviously mentally ill.
Yes.
And everybody watch one another who going and give this man this food, because the wrong move he make and you
covered. That.
And I had to walk up to that man and I only prayed. I said, oh God, please no.
Nobody choose your
don't grab me and shake my hand, don't do nothing, because
just take the food.
You know, when I was in Dago Council for my first 10 years old, I got into an argument with a couple of the councillors there over that same thing. They say, well, why this is when Devish had now started the program and so on. I was with him with it. Oh, you're feeding them encouraging homelessness. I say, come encouraging? How you gonna encourage homelessness? And then the argument went into this. Why they don't pick up? They say, why don't pick up and get a job? Why don't pick up and do this? I said, I watched him, and it was actually a councillor, it was Joey. And me and Joey real good, right? Who's a footballer now from Diego Martin. He was a very good councillor after being mentioned that. But Joey said, Paul, like, you know, why can't get up and do it? I said, Joey, here going on. Can you lift 200 pounds over your head right now? So, well, no. I said, why? I'm not physically capable of it. I said, exactly. You're not physically capable. If you understand the depression they're going through and the kind of mental strain on them, you have they can't physically do it.
Jericho Project had done a whole study. In fact, we had created a branch called the Second Chance Foundation. The irony of me saying that is that's how I ended up working with Gary Griffith, because I went to show him what the Second Chance Foundation was trying to do, where we were trying to deal with illiteracy, because illiteracy was one of the #1 causes of homelessness. When you look at the people, when you look at it from the science of looking at it, there are 3 types of people homeless in Port of Spain. They have the mentally ill, they have the substance addicted, and then they have those who just fall through life's cracks.
And you see substance addicted, all of them, if you live on the street, at some point you're going to get substance addiction. You will get at some point, because you have nowhere to turn after enough pressure gets you on the road and you're sleeping on the ground.
And the process had to be identifying who is who, so that you could get the right treatment for who. So those that mentally ill, you have to get them in an environment that could treat with them with the dignity and respect that you want to give somebody. Because when your brain not working, that's it. I can't blame you if your brain not working right. So you're making bad choices because your brain not working right, and then we blaming you and demonizing you, and life is... We stopped being that society, that village that takes care of itself. We stopped being that, because in a proper community, somebody who is obviously mentally ill would not have to reach to that.
You remember a few years back, the ex-COP mayor, I believe it was, of San Fernando, turned around and said somewhere he ate, they were doing health inspections and so. The food there not fit for a homeless person. I believe you had asked the question at that point in time. So a homeless person is some subspecies of human being?
That's how they think.
It's human beings, man. It's human beings.
And again, if we started to measure these things, these are the indicators that we needed to measure. And that's why we spoke in the last show. Paul, it wasn't here for that, but we were saying that if Trinidad and Tobago wanted to right itself, social development should be the biggest ministry of all. Because
Yeah.
government's job is social development.
But that's the whole job of the government. Before anything else.
That's the purpose of government. So the Prime Minister's ministry
Yeah.
should be social development and management. We need to know all of the key indicators.
A nurturing government. A nurturing government. Take care of your people.
Poverty,
Yep.
homelessness,
Yep.
education, crime.
Mental health, all
Crime.
this kind of thing. Yes.
Mental
But
health.
when you bring up the lowest rungs of society and empower them, you solve a lot of problems by that, by just doing that. A lot of problems will solve themselves if you're able to upbring people from that.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of that in terms of people feeling part of the economic build out of society. Something I did some years ago and so forth. I remember I dealt with some guys in Arima as in local government at the time. And up to now, they don't pass me straight, you know. They were considered bad boys in the community. Bad boys, they're miserable, they just haven't called their name and so forth. And they say, well, Father, we have for we, that. I said, well, what you all could do? And I remember, I always talk about this, and hopefully someday they'll come out and talk about it. Going home at their home and actually showing them how to do an estimate for a job, how to understand a physics contract, how to do scope of work and so forth. Those guys there went home by them. And then after we had some contracts, I should know how to tender for little box drain and so forth. Yeah? But that is government reaching the people, understanding the needs of the people.
When the UNC was in office last, David Lee, that was his job.
Yeah.
David Lee was working with the MIC.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So that we have so many people who learn their trade on a hustle that didn't go to any organization to learn how to be a mason or a carpenter. They learn it on the go.
Yeah.
But they have no idea what is their level of proficiency, or they can't build.
How to build fit, how to estimate
they
the
can't
work.
build because you can't tell somebody, okay, you're an A-class welder. You need certification to say that you're an A-class welder so that you can charge as an A-class welder. And because there is no system in Trinidad to offer certification, don't tell me come and do the course when I could teach the teacher.
Yeah.
Have a system to examine my skill set.
And where it is at, where it needs to be for this.
Right, so you could examine my skill set because as serious, you could judge a welder by the bead.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That bead that you pull, you could judge a welder by that and how he manages his the job. You could judge a mason by how he sets up to put on his wall, how much blocks he put in, how he applying the cement, the mortar. There are indicators of a skill level.
What you need to do is this. As I said, it needs to be examinable. Alright, you might have these 8 features to be an A-class welder, let's just say. You're missing 2, but hey, we don't have to put you through the whole course. You're good at these 8 things. Slip in the course to get these 2 to make it A-class now, and you're saving resources. You're saving resources.
I work in a committee once that dealt with that, where we call practical certification and theoretical certification and so forth, where we measure your actual skill. Do something, and your approach, your methodology, your planning out process, you can be certified from a practical standpoint, how you go about implement and so forth. Then there's the guy who just know theory. But don't tell him plaster on the wall, but he can tell you the mixture of the cement and so forth.
And there's a rule for him.
There's a rule for him. What we did that year, and this is why I said when we spoke some weeks ago, Philip, policies of administration is not party policy to a large extent.
Everybody, it has to be people policy. If your politics is not people policy, and that's what people...
Then you're on your own, you're doing your own thing.
Rudy Paul wrote and he said, if there's one thing I love about Philip Alexander is from the moment he started solving problems, he was putting all the information in the public space for free. So it's not like I was holding on to it to say, this is my plan, this is my idea. Because I tell people these things come through you, it's not from you. So you give it to the country because you want your country better. At the end of the day, if we don't want our country better, what are we in politics for?
No.
We have a bad problem with this as well.
Go ahead.
Thanks. We have a bad problem with this. We don't understand proper stakeholder engagement. Everybody ready to say what you need and what you need.
For real.
You ever ask them? No, you can ask them and what they're saying is inaccurate. But you never ask, you have to ask to find out, hey, there may be some aspect I don't understand. As a matter of fact, I will say, our UNC supporter told me this in terms of UNC putting on blue. When he said something, I just didn't think of it. He said, look, the traditional yellow, good and all, he's a UN supporter, and this is someone of African descent, because I don't know why PNM think that they have a monopoly on African people of African descent. I don't know why they think so. But anyway,
I find that was so funny, you know. And then the Express would put it on the front page that the UNC using black people.
Yeah.
I don't
understand. How could you use? How could
insulting the African people that is?
You see the amount of
insulting
videos. You see the amount of videos people putting out saying that is so disrespectful.
Like African people are owned by somebody.
Nobody is talking to these people and telling them these things are blowing up in their faces. You can't tell people that. You can't pretend that you own them and we come along and
I'll tell you, I know political marketing. I've been around it long enough to know political marketing. I grew up political marketing. And you know what? When this fella said the blue gave a more inclusive type of avenue to get the blue and the yellow mix in terms of it, and he went, and this is a fellow with no education to speak of in marketing, nothing like that, and he came with that perspective to me. I didn't know that, and that is why it is important to always engage stakeholders.
The brilliance of the woman in the rebranding of the United National Congress should be a case study in politics. She moved the party into the center. You cannot say the UNC is an Indian party this morning. You cannot. You just watch who is our candidates. You watch who's the executive. You watch who makes
the crowd. Just watch the crowd. Just watch the crowd.
You could no longer say. And that is
you can't say is CPEP and you're happy. You can't say it's them.
Can't say that because she have no control. So the PNM lost the chance to make their party all-inclusive. They were using Indian people to stunt. They were using people like Devant Maraj and Rohan to talk foolishness.
What Rohan say?
The last honest Indian.
Or something.
He's the last honest Indian. Nastiness
like
that.
He saying? Something.
And as you're saying that, I want to bring up this nonsense of the what is of responsible behavior, the Council of Responsible Behavior. How come they ain't put out nothing yet on that Express article? How come they ain't put out nothing yet on Camille, how she get on the platform? I don't want to repeat it. No, but if it was a UNC...
The same words why you cannot have your little nieces and nephews watch politics in Trinidad. The same reason why, because things like that are being said.
Was it the Express attempt to bring back race into the politics, because UNC have shifted
they want to make back they want to make back
and I tell people, when people say that the UNC is a coalition, I say the PNM is a coalition. The PNM is a coalition with the 1%. The PNM is a coalition with the contract mafia. The PNM is a coalition. All those media people are part of that coalition.
The media will always...
So when they say PNM party group, and I want to make this point, because the Express and the Guardian, when you look, I've been saving the columns side by side, the way they're writing and crafting the headlines. But you know what is good?
They want bacchanal, man.
They want bacchanal. If you're saying it for the PNM, you're saying it good. And if you're saying it for the UNC, you're saying it bad. You know they say that the movie is media. You could go to the movies, and the same movie that can have you rooting for this person can have you hating that person, depending on how they write it.
How they write it, yes. But you know what? And underlining this point, it will be shared most because it's a bona fide media house. It'll be shared on Facebook or so. But guess what? Even their headlines have to share on social media. Otherwise, nobody reading it, nobody hearing about it.
When you hear that Guardian lose $16 million last year and $18 million the year before, that is not the full loss, you know. Because what you have to take out is government advertising that propping those companies up.
But that's what
government advertising is just propping them up.
Right, and you see...
so the loss is bigger, the loss is $30 and $40 million. Your actual cost of business is being underwritten by government advertising that nobody reading in your papers. When last you turn a page in our papers? How come you still printing papers? Who reading it?
Papers printing, but nobody reading it.
My friend Anthony Robertson was a distributor for the Express years ago. And my real partner. So there are nights we finish partying late, and he had to go 4 o'clock in the morning in the Express
to pick up papers.
There are 50 cars, like 50 van like his there, picking up papers, because you had to go and drop papers by every shop in your area. And he controlled Woodbrook to Carenage. That was his. And the amount of papers that was, now one van does that whole country. Does the whole country. One van.
And 3/4 of the papers get thrown away, and you use a bird cage.
Go in the grocery
it's a bird cage. It's a bird cage and wrapping pawpaw now. Print media is for bird cage and wrapping pawpaw. What other use they have it? Everything now, look, this is the most dangerous thing to traditional media.
That's what your wannabe prime minister said. That was the most in social media.
If they didn't have anything is with all of that, if not for social media, nobody seen the mainstream media houses anyway.
True.
Because who wakes up in the morning and goes on Guardian on Newsday or Express website? They go on social media.
Direct TV wanted to shut down the Android boxes and you know
they tried.
They wanted because if you can't get Netflix and thing, you had to go by them.
Yeah.
You had to go by them to get the movies, and that's what they're saying. So we still living in a country.
Go back one step, cable companies before that.
Still living in a country. Imagine if BlackBerry had the power to stop Apple from selling, so they could continue selling their archaic phones. That's how businessmen in Trinidad and Tobago see it. They don't see elevate your game to rise to the competition. They see lock the competition
out of these markets.
That's why we are as bad as we are. That's why Trinidad Cement Limited could raise the price of cement now to $70 when rock hard was here it was $45.
Yeah.
And cement is the biggest expense in construction.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about almost a 50% increase, so 50% of your total cost of your building is cement.
You know, we always have to look at this. Where does it end up? Just go, and then what? And then it goes on to, all right, more cost for construction. Yeah, that's the first part.
Follow on cost.
But then follow on. You know where it reaches at the end? The consumer at the end will have to pay more for it.
Because the cost
always reaches down there.
When they talk about the cost of living, that's what they mean. If the price of tuna fish go from $3.99 to $12.99 and your salary didn't increase, and the amount of money that you have to buy tuna fish takes money from something else. Your disposable income, you buy a pack of cigarettes, you go on Lime income, you take the family out to a restaurant income, that you start to lose that first. And then you start to lose things like you could no longer afford to pay the whole rent on time and feed the family and pay TNTech. So all of a sudden, all of your bills starting to get late.
You know,
and you're going into TNTech and you're asking them, you can pay this on account and you manage it. You manage it.
If TNTech, if people usually pay in TNTech every 2 months. If you start to pay a TNTech every month, some people can't survive, you know.
No.
That's the reality.
Because we're not talking about you're not surviving on the value of the money, you know. You're living on cash flow. You're saying that, you know, the Chinese shop will wait an extra 2 weeks. And that's how you're living.
Yeah.
That's literally uncover Peter to cover Paul this month. Everybody, COVID showed that we have a whole nation of people one paycheck away from collapse.
We said that now, and then what happened in COVID is we saw when they didn't get a paycheck. And the chaos that ensued. And you know that we know that was
Rowley told the nation that for Kamla to pay workers what they deserve, it will cause a devaluation. And if Trinidadians stop to think what he is saying, it means that our economy is so out of step.
So fragile.
But it's out of step with the realities of life. If you to give a worker a proper salary. Remember, we had 65% inflation in the last 10 years and people still on 2013, 2014 salaries. So how they managing that? How they managing that? So you're saying to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that the economy is so out of step with the realities of real... If cost of living and real wages cannot be brought closer together, then Trinidad is in a bad way now. So you're saying... And I just say this, because I'm not saying that I agree that there's any devaluation happening, because I'm saying that at least 40% of our budget is stolen money. I'm saying stolen.
Waste or stolen, same thing.
And you know, just last night I had that conversation with Madison. I said, Madison, this country can live on a $35 to $40 billion budget, you know.
Easy.
Less than
that. But less than that.
I run the numbers and I say, why we are this $56 billion and going down the road?
Brother, I want to tell you something.
Why?
Because our airport is overrun after build. Our airport, they're boasting about the capacity of the airport in Tobago. The island can't take that capacity. So you're boasting about the capacity of the airport. If the island cannot
physically take that... You bring 5,000 people, you have 5,000
rooms. Room stock.
If you have the room stock, how you doing?
Holistic governance.
But even so, we're not even talking yet about those make work developments. I'm talking about just your basic economy.
Yeah.
If your basic economy is out of reach of the average person, if you have this much poverty, the economy is run badly. So you need to look at your taxation. You need to look at what you're charging people, because the average thing that you buy has between 50 and 60% tax. Even if you drop VAT in your full from 15% to 12, you say 2.5 5% in VAT, but it had 35% duty on it. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. We get in small pieces, but in general, I'm saying they exist in small pieces, but in general, our taxation for duties and these things do not follow any kind of national development plan whatsoever, or any direction.
No,
it's random for the most part.
Not really. You know what it is? It's lock the competition out.
Lock the competition, yeah.
Because Scotch, I remember, Scotch Johnny Walker Red was landing in Trinidad cheaper than Old Oak Black Label and Old Oak rum.
Before my time, but yeah.
But I'm telling you, no, I'm telling you that the price of Scotch, they pay so much duty and tax to make it that price. Trinidadians not aware of how much of the cost of what they consuming. I remember Michael Nahus, your family.
Yeah,
remember Michael Nahus told me once, a long time ago.
I quote this all the time. I should know what we come with.
Michael Nahus told me everything has come out of the ground for free. Just
everything is free. Everything is free from God plus labor.
Just add labor.
Yeah.
And it is not a lie.
I often quote him on that.
But it's not a lie. And then I was following this economist in the States, and he was saying that inflation is a new construct. Inflation is not a real thing. It's not natural. Inflation is added to the economy. For 500 years, the cost of a block of cheese was the same price. Yeah. For 500 years. For 500 years, bread and cheese and milk was the same price. So all of a sudden, they realized that they could break off. Everybody wants to break off a piece of your money. That's what they want. That's how they get rich.
Cashless society, my friend.
Oh, that was the
cashless society is,
you know
that is the absolute outcome of that whole idea of putting you as a laborer and a consumer. Your choices are.
You know the biggest joke about that is that they're talking about moving to a cashless society.
The maddest thing.
They have
insanity.
They have places, and if you travel, you know this. They have places that have moved cashless. Go to London. Go to even Florida. A lot of places are moving cashless. They don't accept $50 bills in some places in the US right now. Not even $50 bills. They're still trying to move cashless. However, if you go to New York, you go to New York, it's still cash everyone accepting. So some societies have tried to go cashless. That has not worked. It's a cash society. But if it is a cash society, you have to see how you could manage the cash of the society. Not force it into something unnatural.
I am saying to everybody, and I've said this repeatedly, every argument that you give for a cashless society, we're already there now. We're already doing transfers, we're already doing wire transfers, we already have ATMs and bank cards, we already could pay with links. Give us the option of choice.
Yes.
That is what I want. I want for my labor to choose where the proceeds of my labor is spent. I want that. Cash represents that. Cash represents the equity and the value of my proceeds of my labor and what I own. And Kamla Prasad Bisasa.
I mean, and you know what? Look at Trinidad in terms of how things.
Trump killed that.
But look at how things function or don't function. How many times you went somewhere and a sign have to go up, links machine down,
bro?
Bank error.
I always do the video, and I always do it. And I said, I am in this grocery now. None of the links machines are working. So only the people with cash in their wallet taking food home tonight.
Yeah. The only benefit of a cashless society is the banks.
It's the banks.
Because every time your money is circulated, lose 2 and 3%. Every time it moves 2 and 3%, it diminishes.
Of course, but Trump has killed it.
Of course, you have to kill that.
Trump said he passed a law. They will never. The Central Bank of the United States could never control.
When a government is talking cashless society,
it's control. That's control.
The people must understand the wickedness the government is trying to perpetuate on them.
You're leaving them no choice but revolt.
Exactly.
Or the only option you have to government policy after that, you could no longer protest. You could no longer make choices that you say, you know what? These people raise their prices. I'm not spending my money there. That is the only game in town. What are your choices?
So, the question. So, I do read the papers and so forth. Is it one of the PNM policy to bring about a cashless society?
That was Colm was trying to ram that down our throats before the election.
Well, we can't say Colm because he alone is the whole cabinet.
No, of course, but
so
I'm saying,
their policy are generalizing now.
Of course, all of them.
So, what you're trying to tell me, what you're telling me is that the policies of the PNM administration is not inclined to empower poor people, but to pauperize them. That what you're saying?
The policies being made inside the secret society, the people who control the banks, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but I'm glad. I told people in 2024 when Kamla Prasad Bisesa said that she will not tolerate a cashless society.
And that's where we had the
support.
support.
This woman get my full support.
That is what okay.
The whole
that's
world,
what I get
the whole World Economic Forum.
Any government talking cashless society can't get my support.
That's
I'm sorry.
Enslavement. That is real enslavement. That is worse, and I'm telling you, that is worse than chain enslavement. That is you, literally. If you don't follow that, your choice is eat or starve.
When a banking error occurs, which they occur, and you get a lock out your card today, and you need medication.
As he says, starve.
When you need food, when it's something you can't afford not to do, you cannot afford to do without.
Bro,
stay sick.
The plan.
What's the banks? We talking about cash. The banks don't open on a Saturday. The banks don't. Some banks don't open for a full day. They open for a half day. Talking about cashless.
But with the farmer, the fisherman, when he come in.
This is the kind of idea.
You tell me the fisherman had a little machine on the boat.
Selvan, to control you. They want battery-operated cars that are computer controlled as part of an internet system. They want your ATM. They could literally, like in COVID, where they didn't want you to move beyond a certain place, they could literally lock you out beyond a 1 mile radius. That any ATM outside of a 1 mile radius, if you drive your car outside of that boundary, your car will shut down. That is Orwellian madness to consider. That we are giving up all of our control. I will never buy a vehicle that can be controlled outside of what I
can control. Yeah.
I mean,
your space.
You show me OnStar and you say OnStar can unlock the door if the key lock in the car. Good, I like that.
Book a lock, man.
But
Book a lock, man.
Boom, boom, boom.
And I'm not even going with I am not even going with conspiracy. You know what I'm going on? I deal a lot as a subject matter expert. I deal with a lot of technical aspects of firearms. So when you're talking about this happen or that happen, I would explain in a report why this could happen or why this cannot happen. I could explain it. I could explain why it can and cannot happen, what the chance of this happening is, that type of thing. You know the chance of electronics failing is? I'm not even going to someone in a conspiracy theory. I go into that is prone to failure. The system failing means I get locked in my car. It means I could get into accident and die because of what there's so many variables that I am not in control of.
In the 1940s, Winston Churchill made a policy that starved millions of Indians so that the British Army could eat. Now understand, you live in a world where people could make a decision like that.
But the technology, there's all the technology that exists for AI-controlled drone strikes. That technology is there, and it can work, and it works. But you know the worry and why the issue with ethics and all that. If that system malfunction, you think it has the capability of going to a school and kill everybody. You know what I mean?
But you see, the biggest worry is this: AI could make a decision that humans are the problems on the earth.
One day,
if you create something to solve problems, and it decides that humans are the problem.
If it comes to a conclusion, I'm not sure it's wrong. Yes, so I mean.
So again, bring it back to home. The question we had asked ourselves are the policies of the parties that going up for office consistent, yes, with improving the daily lives of the citizen of this country.
Listen to the ad before we went on.
Yeah.
Talking about, I mean, no government has ever addressed this, and it destroyed Woodbrook. Woodbrook was one of the best communities in the country. I grew up in Woodbrook, and I'm telling you, that unchecked business development, bars and restaurants and nightclubs opening drives you out of your home. This a nightclub had opened in Woodbrook.
By the corner of Carlos, around there.
No, it was. What was the name of the place? Well, it was one thing up the street. It was no longer an RPW, and I went
on the side street. Yeah. By police station. Same road, police station. Yeah, I remember that place. Good burgers when they open, eh?
I went to a party there. I don't party much, but I went there once, and so they have this back balcony.
It was a restaurant and a lounge in the back.
I go on in the back balcony, Salvon, and I stand up there with a drink in my hand, and on the left and in the back and on the right are people's bedroom windows, and we jamming music in here, and we having a good time, and that's 10 feet from where I stand there, people trying to sleep. And that's the insanity of it. And
Roscoe's.
So me and Roscoe followed by. He went to fight with me in the street. He ended up my friend. But we mobilized the neighborhood and shut down that license, because if that was me, I remember this fellow SPD. He shut down some people who opened a business next door to him, SPD from Petrotrin. And I knew the people who he shut down. And I know that they set up a business there to make money. but people are living next door, and our system of planning and permission not taking into account both sides of the argument. Because downtown, I just want to say this, downtown Port of Spain, you should have been encouraging the development of all of this downtown Port of Spain.
To make a nightlife downtown.
That whole Brian Lara Promenade should be something that tourists talking about.
That should be how Happy Avenue is.
Oh my Jesus Christ! Listen, from the cathedral to the Hyatt, you could have brightly lit, and you could literally have
entertainment center straight down.
7 days a week and bother nobody.
You want to talk about proper planning? It goes even further. We have to look at specific, nuanced laws and regulations, because in St. James, you know the mosque in St. James on the main road. Some years ago, I remember someone opened up a barbecue thing with the cows.
That was the guy. I just want to tell you, I just know his story. That was a guy who built Diamond Vale, you know. What's his name again? Gokul. Gokul Mosque. That's Gokul Mosque.
Correct, yes, Gokul Mosque. So next to it, on the corner there, with a car wash or something like that now, whatever it is, they set up a barbecue thing. They're making pork. You know the smoke vent was facing into the mosque. On the mosque, yeah, the smoke from the pork going into, and the imam there went to say, hey, at least just put the smoking facing somewhere else. You have the smell of, the man told him where to get off.
When you say every creed and race finds an equal place, what that's supposed to mean is that after the man told him where to get off, he's supposed to be able to go to the police station. And our police supposed to be evolved enough to understand that this is an assault on them, on their religion. And for us to be every creed and race find an equal place, this is a violation of that. And if you're going to build your country on every creed and race finding an equal place, mean it.
But
Don't just say it.
Look at it in some parts of the US as well. If there's music pumping too loud, they're not coming with a sound measuring device. They could come and have a reasonable assessment. Hey, it really is enough to disturb the neighborhood.
If I hear it outside here.
And they're going to listen. Before we have to take it further, or before we have to bring whatever it is, just turn on your music, have a conversation. No, but is that EMA thing? That's just to show one example that we are not mature in our administration of regulations or common sense in the law.
Good point. Excellent.
Everything have to be no, this is a bureaucratic measure. We have to some common sense in application of that enforcement.
That's a reality.
Yeah. But do we have zoning laws in Port of Spain and so forth?
Zoning what?
We need spatial planning. What is town and country's job?
I don't know.
What is town and country's job? Look.
Every year I hear about this the independence thing, and the people complain about the animals in the zoo and so forth. We gone mad.
People of Woodbrook and Newtown and St. Clair are afraid to sound like they're against the culture, but they want carnival out of their communities. The amplified trucks is sending them mad.
Yep.
The people of Chancellor Hill, I mean, I love Fayan and Bungie and I love them, but I want them to understand that
what happened to the newborn baby when these trucks passing on the road?
And the elders, brother, what about the elders and the infants?
And this is where we go back to what we were saying before, you know. How a society take care of whom? Those vulnerable, the babies, the elderly and so forth, demonstrate.
But we have a whole peninsula. We have places.
I don't understand why Port of Spain is not the capture of Carnival. No, why is that the center? Why you don't go up and down, Frederick, Charlotte, Henry? Why not?
Because you be real about it. The place stink and crime rhythm because of what the government has been doing over the years. The places stink and crime rhythm, and we know that.
Know, and I know at 2 o'clock in the morning you could pass with an automated truck full of hot water on the back, steam clean the entire place. 2 o'clock every morning. They should have trucks with massive jets on either side just driving down the street.
And it's not rocket science. It's done all over the black. Like, you don't pay right.
One driver in a truck.
How simple it is.
One driver in a truck and you steam clean. Tomorrow morning you can eat off the ground. One driver.
It is not rocket science. It is not
all of
something
these problems
new.
can fix, and that's the purpose, and that's the outcome of this conversation. Because you're asking about policy, and every time Stuart Young opens his mouth and announcing a policy, the people listening to him, including the people that he's trying to fool, the supporters of the PNM, they're asking, if you knew this, why wait for now? Why wait for now?
After 10 years.
Why talk about the demerit points that nearly kill us? The system was so mad. This woman just do a video, she said, you get demerit points and you had to wait 2 years to be able to buy a new car.
Yeah.
She said,
with the transfer of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Insurance and so forth.
You see, they did certain things. Now, I'll say this, I agree with the demerit point system because it's a normal, faster law enforcement in other parts of the world. But you have to look at the holistic system. If someone is being entirely reckless and this and that, yes, I agree. Apply the points also. But something like this point, you can't transfer car.
Shouldn't be a demerit. But no seatbelt, park on the wrong side. There's something should not be a demerit.
Anything that causes harm to another person should be a demerit.
Correct.
But also look at this. I'm talking about the whole that idea with the points on your license. You can't transfer a vehicle. You can't sell a vehicle. So you lock onto that vehicle for the time. I was like, oh God, man, come now, man. Well,
you can't penalize it twice,
man. It has to go by the court. Is that supposed to go before the courts? It's not yet. Oh no, they took out. They have to take out the law recently.
They are saying the PNM that
they say they want to take
doing
it out.
They now making a promise. You're telling me that you're going to.
So there's bandits and thief. There's bandits and police. There's bandits and police. There's thief and police.
I prefer to say arsonist and fireman. Right. And as I bring it to fireman, before we lose it, and I want to say this, yesterday I called Paul to ask him something, and he told me I'll call him back. I'm in the middle of out in a fire by my house because the fire station.
Why think I saw? Wait, I was on the beach, you know. The burn the red you see on my face, the sunburn I have now was from fighting fire yesterday, you know.
No fire. The fire truck couldn't reach, so they left.
And
when he called the fire station, they tell him we can't help you, and they hang up the phone. So the whole townhouse community that they had to go out and out a bushfire themselves or lose their homes because our Trinidad and Tobago, and I am not blaming the fire officers who are frustrated working under these conditions, and they know I stand up and fight for them all the time. They are frustrated working under these conditions. You know
what? They can't. The fire tender, that one can't go up a hill.
Yesterday I met with a bunch of public servants, senior public servants, and I was hoping Matterson would have been here for this. Senior public servants are telling me that what has been going on in the public service hierarchy for the past 10 years, and people don't know this, and it is the reason why the public service is grinding to a halt, is that the people who are supposed to be promoted into certain positions, the government is, because the Prime Minister's office is involved in the appointment of senior public servants, including permanent secretaries and other people whose roles and responsibilities are supposed to be a check and a balance against government. Now the government is controlling both sides of the argument. That means that you could do what you want.
So instead of small tenders that can make it up a hill, we get wooden ladders.
Yeah, wooden ladders.
Oh, that.
The public, but they say to me now that the actual commission that is doing the appointments are all political appointees that are doing the bidding of the government. So we have lost that check and balance. It's now just clunky for no reason. It was clunky to keep you independent, to create a check and balance on government.
As we became a republic.
And just like that, this beautiful conversation, we run out of time again. We have a minute again, and I have to give the gentleman, Selvon, give me your closing comments.
The fact that we became a Republican state, put us in a precarious position where we lose that check and balance, and we need to put it back, really and truly. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Please, God, I'll expand on it.
I will just say that what's going on in the country, we can't continue like this. And anything you see, any decision or statement you see me make from today onward is going to be, understand this, in 100% the best interest of my country and nothing more. Any opinions thrown about me, about anything I say or do past this day, I am 100% behind my country.
And I could endorse that, and it is why we decided on March the 2nd, 2024, that in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, all of the good people had to come on one side of the fence to fight what is looking like an evil empire. And I have to say it like that because some of the policies and some of the decisions have made life so hard for so many people that it is evil. And I want to say that on the 28th of April, Kamla Prasad Bissessa and the UNC Coalition of Interest is Trinidad's only choice. Let us not get distracted by nonsense. I know that the media operatives and the talking heads are trying to give us distractions. I want to say stay focused. A better country is what we want. And on the 28th of April 2025, go out early and vote for the United National Congress Coalition of Interest. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.
No accountability, bad roads, corrupt politicians, no more. We're going and fix it. It's time.
By BP, Progressive Empowerment Party. Save TNT, vote PEP.
Save TNT, vote PEP.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
When UNC wins, your mental health wins as well. There has been a proliferation of noise pollution emanated from homes and fetes and bars and clubs intolerable to the persons living nearby. The UNC will amend the noise pollution laws to protect your mental health in these noisy residential neighborhoods and businesses. The system of granting bar license, party license will be changed by the UNC.
When UNC wins, everybody wins.
Meet we on the road for the TPP regional meetings. Make no mistake, TPP is the only